Hi everybody and welcome back to Kathy's Craft Room. Today we're going to do something called a bokeh technique, B-O-K-E-H. And you do need quite a bit of supplies, so I'm going to give you all the dimensions for everything that I'm using today. Today we're going to use this Dapper Denim. This is a standard A2 size card, so it is 8.5 by 11, cut at 5.5, and then scored at 4 1/4. And we're going to use it this way. I also have a piece of real red that is cut at 4 inches high by 5 1/4 because we're going to make it go this way there. I do also have a piece of Whisper White. This is a little bigger. It is 5.5 by 4 3/4 because I'm going to end up cutting off 1 inch of it to go on the inside of the card because the technique takes up the whole page. So I'm just going to cut off a piece of it at the bottom. We're going to be using all of the inks that we have here today. We're going to be using the Dapper Denim and the Real Red. And then we're also going to be using Whisper White. We're going to be using this little thinlet here that just says you, and it is from the Hello Happy, I don't know what it's called, but it says Hello Happy, Thanks, and You, and we're going to use the you. It goes with this Crazy About You stamp set. And we're going to use the U, which I've already cut out with my Big Shot in the Real Red. And then I'm going to use the So Proud Of, and then So Proud Of You. It's kind of military colorings, red, white, and blue. You'll also need a piece of scrap paper, doesn't matter what type, and a bunch of hole punches. We're actually going to take these and punch holes all over this paper, different sizes, and that's what we're going to use to do the bokeh technique. So there's a couple of different steps for this, so I'm going to go ahead and just start with the first one here in a second. I'm going to clean up all my supplies, and then we're going to start with the first one. Okay, awesome. Okay, so the first step is we're going to take that 4 3/4 by 5.5 piece of Whisper White, and we're going to create our background. Now, a bokeh technique is when it looks like, when you take a picture and you see like the little white like lights on it. Sorry for my lighting here. That's what it's gonna look like, and you'll see as we go along. So we're gonna create our background for it, and we're gonna use the red and the blue. So I have a dauber, which you'll also need, or you can use a sponge, whatever you have. I have these little daubers that are all marked with the color. So I'm gonna put it in the Real Red. Just soak it up, get some good color on there. And then I'm kind of just gonna start filling in the paper. Okay, so I am kind of letting it fade a little bit. I want all kinds of different, shades in there. And there is no rhyme or reason to this. You can do it however you want to do it. You can add blue wherever you want to add blue. I'm just making this random. So I definitely don't want to be able to see any streaks in here, and I do want to leave enough room for the blue. So I'm going to go ahead and open up, close your red. Open up the blue here. All right, and then I have my Dapper Denim Dauber. Dapper Denim Dauber. I'm going to kind of do the same thing, and I'm going to add some blues to this. Make kind of circles. Again, no rhyme or reason for this. We are literally just making a background, and I want it to be bluish and reddish. Sorry, my whole table is shaking here. So I'm just gonna go and kind of fill up the whole page. With color. Put a little darker color in here. Kind of mix the red and the blue together. Just creating a background, some sort of bluey red. I'm going to go add a little bit more red back in here because I want to be able to see both colors clearly, because this is a red, white, and blue. Just coming back in here with some red. It mixed together pretty well. Now, if you use the sponge, you may not get as much, you know, circleness on it because there's not circles. But because I'm using a circle dauber, I'm kind of getting more of the circly look here. Okay, so you just want to create whatever pattern that you want. And you definitely want all the white spaces filled up because the bouquet technique is going to add white back on top of this. So, all right, so that is part 2. So now we have our background, which is kind of a funky tie-dye looking color, and we have the sheet here. So now remember I said we need some scrap paper. Okay, so I have some scrap paper here, and I'm going to use my punches, and I'm just going to punch out, okay, some shapes. So I'm going to have one of that one that was the 1 1.5 punch, and then we have the next size up, which is 1 3/4 punch. Put that there. And then I have a 1-inch punch as well. Okay, and then a 1/2 inch punch. So really this is just going to be a piece of paper with different size holes in them. Okay, now the bouquet technique is actually when you take, I'm going to put it over here, and this is when I use my craft white, and I'm going to put the craft white on top of it to give it that effect. Now for the craft white, I use a sponge versus using my daubers. So I buy these big sponges that they have like at Home Depot, because you're going to make this all messy. So I'm just going to take literally a piece of the sponge and cut it off. Okay, so I'm going to do this one coming in at an angle here, and then I'm going to take my Whisper White. You can see I've done this in the past, and it will leave a hint of the color, so be careful with how you ink it. So I'm just going to get some of the white on my little sponge. All right, so it's like that. And then I'm going to hold this in place, and I'm going to dab it on there. So it's going to lighten it up quite a bit. Okay, and then when you lift it up, you'll see it looks like there's kind of like a bubble coming in from the side. You see the bubble there? Now there does not have to be any rhyme or reason or pattern or anything like that for these. Just go and fill them in wherever you want. Just be careful with your white because, like I said, you will get some of the other color stuck on it. So we do the same thing in the middle here. And you can make them as dark as you want or as light as you want. This one I'm going to make a little bit darker. And you see how there's like a bubble coming in from there, and that one's quite a bit darker. And then I could take a little baby one. This is kind of messy, so kind of expect to get a little messy when you're doing this. So here's a little one. I'm going to make this one pretty bright because it's so little and it's easy to cover. So that's kind of what it looks like when it's darker. All right. So you're going to do that over the whole thing, and I'll show you guys what that looks like when it's all done in just a second here. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's done. So now we have that same background piece of paper, and it has like little white bubbles all over it. And you can do this background in whatever you want. The technique part is just adding the white to make it look like there's little floating bubbles like all over it. So like I said, originally this was 4 3/4 by 5.5. Now I did that way we could fit it on the inside of the card. You see this gets very, very messy. So we're going to go ahead now. I did dry this with edit that out. Now we're going to go ahead and cut this down because right now it is 4 3/4 by 5.5, and we want it. We're going to take 1 inch off the bottom here, and so that's going to make it 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. So we're going to take an inch off the bottom right here, and that's going to be our inside. And then we're going to take a 1/4 of an inch. Once we're done with this, we're going to put it to the side, and then we're going to cut a 1/4 of an inch off here to make it fit inside. And I'll show you what that looks like in just 1 second. Okay, so now I have it cut, and this was originally down here like this, and this was on the side, and so I cut an inch off the bottom. So when all is said and done, this is going to go on the inside of the bottom inside of our card, and this is going to go on the outside. So I took a 1/4 of an inch, so this is now 5 inches across by 3 3/4. So it's back to standard dimensions. This is just our background paper. Okay, so now we're going to get to the stamping. Okay, so the next step is we're going to bring all of our pieces back in. We're going to bring back in our real red, and then our piece that we made, and our U. I'm going to use, you can use whatever glue you have. I'm going to use this fine tip glue to glue on the U to my paper. Okay, and it does have a little pokey thing on the bottom. Okay, so then I'm going to add glue to the back of my U. I do use it pretty liberally. I do want it to stay on here pretty good. So you want to put the U on. Okay, so we have the glue there, and then we're going to take this and we're going to put the U kind of towards the bottom right of it and then glue it on. I found that if you take like a piece of scrap paper and kind of fold it in half and like put it on top of it, it'll like help to keep it down because it's so little. And you want it to get a nice good smush to stay on there, and because it's so thin, but you want it to stay. So that's just how I found. As you can see, my hands are really inky. So when you're done with your fine tip glue, make sure that you put, let's see, you put that back in there. There is a way to do this pretty easily, I'm sure. I'm just not really good at it. Okay. All right, there we go. Yeah, so make sure you do that because then it'll keep it flowing for that. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our Dapper Denim ink. We're going to open it up, and we're going to take the words "So Proud Of," and that came from, again, the Crazy About You stamp set. And we're going to ink it up in our Dapper Denim. Ink it up pretty good. Now, as you see, I got some ink like at the bottom. Just make sure you don't push down on those. And we're going to put it right up to the left. Try to get it as straight as you can. And ink it right there. There we go. So now we have our "So Proud of You." Now we're done with that stamp. Now we can start putting the card together. Okay, so we're going to take your adhesive, and you're going to tape, and don't forget to shut your ink. You'll end up with a blue elbow. I'm going to take this piece here and put it on top of the real red. So again, line it up nice and even. There we go. Okay, so you have that, and then we're going to layer this on top of our Dapper Denim. So again, you put your adhesive on here, and then you take and you line this up. You put it in the middle here. Okay, so now that we have our little card almost all put together, we have one more piece. Remember, we made this just to kind of give it a little matchy feeling. We're going to take that and put it on the inside of it, so it has the same feel. You could put like a real red border around it to kind of make it truly match. But for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and take it, put some adhesive on the back of it, and put it. It will have a little bit of an edge to it. Put it at the bottom here, just so it has the same